Hey, welcome to the show today. Today I want to talk with you about a subject that could be controversial or it could not be controversial. But I wanted to put out my job, my role here with this podcast and with coaching is to help us open up and to think about new things or think about old things in new ways. Because one of the things that keeps us stuck in relationships and in life the way it is we just keep repeating the same things over and over again. So, coaching and this podcast, reading, educating, growing ourselves is about thinking in new ways and asking new and different questions. So, the area that I would say could potentially be controversial is to talk about the patriarchy. Now, if you don't know what the patriarchy is, maybe it's a term that you've heard, but don't really know what it is. I know I was like that for a long time. Like I had an idea and it stirred up a feeling in me. Sometimes it was a feeling of affinity and sometimes it was a feeling of pushing away. But as I got to know this word a little bit and thinking about this concept more, I have invited it more and more in my life with curiosity, and I would invite you to do the same. So, patriarchy, this as a definition, when we just go over to the Googles and look up definitions, it says it's a system of society or government which men hold power and women are largely excluded from it. So, it's a big systematic thing. It's this big way that our world is constructed. Oh, well, I should say maybe more our society. World might refer to the planets and whatnot. I won't go quite that big. But our society here, I'm in the US, here in the US, and really pretty much around the world, is developed by a system in which men hold power and women are largely excluded from it. And this is really especially true for those of us who are in a relationship with first responders, because as a profession, as a demographic field, it's largely comes from a very patriarchal history, and those ways of constructing that industry uphold the patriarchy today. And we can see that just in terms of the statistical fact of number of men, particularly cisgender, men who are born, their body and their gender match as male, and even we could even say hetero, right? It's largely a heterosexual, cisgender, male-dominated field, and it very much has to do with the way that field was constructed and the rules and regulations that uphold that system. So, why do we want to look at this in our relationships? It's important to be curious about this because in coaching, one of the things that we're doing, the big thing that we're doing, is we're looking at how our thoughts and beliefs create the feelings that we have and drive then the things that we do or we don't do in the world. And it can seem very disingenuous if we go out and say, well, change your thoughts and feelings so that your actions will change, when we don't really understand why or how we came to have these thoughts and feelings. And that so many of our beliefs about ourselves and about how the world operates comes from the systems in which we live and operate in every single day. Going back to the top of this recording here, I talked about the point of this podcast and the point of coaching and the point of growth is to be able to take this 10,000-foot view and ask really good questions and see not only how we as an individual operate within a system, but how the system is operating within us. How we pick up and we think of ourselves and think of our relationships and think of the world based on these large systems that we all just are a part of. So if you are like me and you are female and you were raised as a female, as a woman, there are lots of beliefs that you bring into your relationship that are not ones that you just chose. It's not like somebody presented a platter of here are all the possible thoughts and beliefs that you could have. Which ones do you want? And you chose some of them and you left some of them behind with a discerning mind, right? Your discerning mind came from all the thoughts and beliefs that people around you had and gave you as a starting place. And now it's your time to get curious about them and to see if those are still working. And to know, even if you change how you see a system, if you change how you see yourself, if you open yourself up to new ways of thinking and being in the world, you are still going to be doing this within a system that has the old beliefs and thoughts. That you can come into it saying something different, it doesn't mean that that system is going to pick up and say, oh, yes, I believe that too. Let me give you a little example here. So the patriarchal system says that men's work is more important than women's work in terms of work that you go out as an occupation and do. So, and we know this in terms of it's valued in terms of money, it's valued in terms of time and priority, the way our systems are structured, right? That going through this time of the pandemic, who was it that quit their jobs the most or left jobs the most? It was women to go do work that we deem important as society, but we don't give it the same sort of monetary value or we don't accolade it, right? Nobody got an award for leaving their job and taking care of several family members and community members and children and homeschooling. Nobody got an award for that. Maybe somewhere, some tiny little place, somebody did. But in general, that's not our society, doesn't reward that kind of work. So we have part of the patriarchy is that men's work is more highly valued than women's work. Now, I'm not saying this is a truism. I'm just saying this is how the patriarchy is set up. And there are ways that we believe in this, that we do things like, I want to support my spouse and their dreams. They make more money, so therefore I'm going to quit my job. And so we put all of our financial eggs into their basket. We lean into that system. But there may be a time that you say, you know what? My value, let's say you're a woman like myself, my work value is just as important as a man's. And my contribution, and even if at this moment, because of the system that I'm a part of, it doesn't bring in the same dollar value, I know that my work is equally valuable and making it a priority within our family and finding time for my work and that we're equally responsible for figuring out the childcare or these sorts of things. So you might have some sort of shifts that you really do believe that your work, if you're a woman, is equally valuable. And you do all the internal work to line this up. But you still are then going to go out into a world that is predominated by the patriarchy, where men's work is more highly valued. And there's going to be frustrations and feelings and experiences that are going to occur when you go out into the world. And it's for our job to be able to identify and see, oh, right, I'm doing the internal work of changing my view, but it's coming up too where other people have not changed that old system and that old belief. So it is real that I'm coming up against the patriarchy. What I don't want us to use coaching for is to then come back in and say, well, if I change my thoughts and belief system enough, then my work would have equal dollar value to my spouse's. Right? So there must be something wrong with me that I need to believe more or change my thoughts more or work harder. The truth is you're coming up against a system that isn't in alignment with your belief that your work is just as valuable as your spouse's work. And so it's helpful. There's many, many ways that we come up to the patriarchy. And here's some of the ways that you can identify it. Whenever you have a belief that you think is genderized, right? Like women are better caretakers, or men are stoic, or, who should have the last word, or women aren't very good at driving or good with money, or you should be careful with money, or there's lots of things, messages that we have been told that is really about upholding this system of this very old system of the patriarchy. It's our job to really be curious about it as we're doing this work to see what are my thoughts and beliefs that are driving my actions and my inactions in the world and in my relationship, and how much of that comes from just the system that we're in, not to mention the system that your spouse is in. When they go to work in this very patriarchal dominated environment where there's all this rank and file and there's these very clear systems of reward and punishment for who gets accolades and who doesn't get accolades. And then they come home and the rules are different. Because in your relationship, maybe you have less of a patriarchal type of relationship, but you still are both at the effect of these large societal beliefs. And how does that conflict come in to your relationship? And this isn't about seeing it as good or bad, but opening yourself up to the curiosity of what are all these beliefs that we keep operating on that may or may not be serving us. There may be some of systems in here that do serve you, that you do want to hang on to, and that's okay. And there are others that, with a little bit of openness and a little bit of curiosity, you might come to realize, these don't really serve me anymore. I would invite you to open with curiosity and just to see and look with fresh eyes into your relationship with yourself, your relationship with your spouse, your relationship with this profession that is so dominated through the patriarchy, and to see what beliefs that you have because of this system that we're just a part of. And just to be curious and see how these beliefs operate in your life and whether or not it's serving your growth and serving your love and connection to your spouse and to yourself. This is a big topic. I'm just opening it up, opening a little can of worms here for your own curiosity and growth. I'd love to hear from you and get your feedback on this and your questions and your thoughts on this. I'd love to unpack this with you. So come on over, shoot me an email and come on over to the website, relationshipsonfire.com, and you can contact me there. Make a comment on our social pages. I'd love to interact with you on this because it's an interesting and big topic. As a society, work towards giving all people their equal value and their equal place in society within this old system that we all operate, and have some, there's been a lot of innovations and amazing things that have happened in the system. And there's been a lot of people who have been left out and damaged and hurt in very big ways. It's the big both and. All right, my friends, be committed, be present, show up with curiosity and love for yourself and for your spouse. And I'll see you next week. Bye. Thanks so much for listening. Make sure you subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you can get every episode. And when you are ready to be in action, come find us. Facebook, Instagram, or our website. It's all the same name, relationshipsonfire.com. We've got that S on there. There's lots of us having relationships. So relationships with an S on fire.com. Thanks so much. Saying goodbye, your fire and water gal, Cori Myka. See you next time.